Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is James. Welcome to my perfect race, where I do nothing wrong, and the stars align, and I forgot to double check my heart rate monitor pairing. Oh man, so bad. Anyway, we're gonna take a closer look at this race and talk a little bit about race tactics. This is the first video that I'm showing you with steering, so I'll show you some of that and I'll talk a little bit about my experience with it so far. So yeah, hopefully this helps, especially those of you who are going to do this race later this week. And since we're talking about general race tactics, hopefully it just helps you overall. And if you don't race on Zwift, try it out. And if you don't use Zwift at all, I have no idea why you're watching this. I'm just kidding. I hope everyone enjoys it. All right, welcome. Stage 3, flat is fast. This is on London flat. The ZRS range is 450 to 570. My current ZRS, I think, is 548. I did a couple races on Saturday, got a few points. I actually got plus 20 points for winning in a 1v1 criterium. Yeah, that was interesting. I ended up attacking him pretty early in the race, and then it turned into an individual time trial where I just grew my gap over the race, and then did 3.9 watts per kilo for, I think, the whole race. It was maybe about like a 25-minute race, which was pretty good power numbers for me. And yeah, and I got 20 points. It's probably mostly due to the fact that I got first place. I feel like placing in result actually has the largest bearing on your ZRS score, going up or down. All right, we got 3 minutes left. Excuse me. Before the race, we got 23 in here right now. There are 31 registered, so it's going to be a pretty good group, good sized group. When there were 17 registered, I looked at the list, and there were a few names and power numbers that I saw that definitely will be in contention for the win. There was one guy, LM Evo. We'll see if we can find him during the race, but seems like a bigger guy. His weight is pretty high, but his power numbers are pretty high too. So I think even at maybe around 90 kilograms, he's still about 4 watts per kilo. So he's got some pretty big power numbers. And I've actually raced with him before. I've definitely done a few races with him. I've seen his name, in my recollection, at least a couple of times in the top 3 in the races that I did. I mean, I guess I could look at his results, but anyway, I did a recon of the course. It's not completely flat. There's one really nasty 15% kicker or so coming out of the subway tunnels. There are maybe 3 or 4 other small climbs. So it should be a pretty dynamic race. We'll see how things all pan out. 20 seconds. All right, let's turn on the fans. Don't forget that. To be completely honest, I was actually feeling really good coming into this race. I raced twice on Saturday, and then I watched my friend Nick race on Power to the Tower in the Elite category. Yeah, in general, I liked my chances today, and I was feeling pretty motivated. Ah yes, I also have steering, so that should help. Because it seems like this course actually has a good number of turns here. And we're going this way. Bengtsson, he's one of the guys that I saw that probably has a good shot at getting a good result today. He also has a pretty sweet afro, so it's pretty easy to pick him out in the pack. And here we have LM Evo. We've spotted him pretty early in the race, and with that bright pink kit, another rider that's going to be easy to spot in the pack. Now we're about to take a left turn, and you can see that I've already set myself up to be on the inside half of the pack. So we take that left turn, and you can see that I am trying to go back to the right side, which is indicated by that red hologram type symbol thing. If you ever see that, it just means that I'm trying to steer in that direction, but I'm not able to because either there is someone next to me and I can't just barge through them, or I'm butting up against the limit of what Zwift has designated as the traveling lane. As we come up to this next right-left turn sequence, you'll be able to see the advantages of steering much more clearly, as I get right behind the pack and I am more free to move left and right because I don't have riders next to me. So take a look and you can be the judge. Pretty neat, huh? Yeah, I wasn't using any extra power. In fact, I think I was laying off the power a little bit, but just with steering alone, at first glance, it looks like I'm able to shave off maybe 1 to 3 meters or so with each turn that I take. It's pretty evident that it helps, at least a little bit. But still, the best thing about these controllers is... Right on, bomb! Yes, sir. Thumbs up spam. I love spam. Alright, this looks like a big climb, but it's not. We're not taking a left onto Fox Hill. But it is spicing up. Thank goodness we weren't doing Fox Hill. That hill frickin' sucks. And again, this climb gets a little bit longer. You'll see. Yep. I saw that during recon. Strange. This whole climb was probably the longest one on the entire course. Our group didn't go too crazy here, and the full climb was probably somewhere around 80 seconds or so. On the second lap, our group took it a little bit faster, and it was about 70 seconds, but either way, a little bit over a minute. Here we have Bengtsson dropping back, and it seems like he knows what he's doing, because he winds it up in the back and he attacks through the group here. There goes Bengtsson. Whether it's on Zwift or in real life racing, you need a good differential of speed in order to create a gap. Now, I was towards the back of the group and I saw this happening, so I know that his attack is going to affect the group. You can see that I moved up a little bit in the pack, even before I started getting strung out here. And generally, it's going to be much easier to follow the pack here because I'm getting a nice draft, and there's a smaller chance that I'm going to get caught behind a gap that forms. Because reliably, there are going to be some people that eventually get shed from the group. Pretty sure we don't want LM, Evo, and Bengtsson to get into a race together. And I say that only because they are two of the riders in this pack that can hold higher raw power for a sustained period of time. Still early in the race. I don't think a break's gonna stick right now, at least. Yeah, I had seen that the group was motivated to chase him down. We're back together again, but I think you'll see in the mini-map that we actually end up dropping a few people here. Alright, we're weaving through the tunnels here, and we're coming up to the 15% kicker that I had mentioned before, which is about halfway through each lap. All I end up doing is staying close enough to the front where I can see what's going on. Super short. Good enough to sting a little bit. And I see that no one's full on attacking, so I settle back into the pack. And in this next turn, you'll see pretty clearly that steering can help. Swoop. Now, there might be some of you out there who say, that's cheating. But the way I see it is that Zwift made it available and it's not illegal. It's not like I'm weight doping like some people out there. Much like anything in real life, take Aero socks for example. I can decide to spend $30 to buy Aero socks, and it might save me, I think it's something like 3 to 5 watts, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think is the best bang for your buck when it comes to watt savings. But yeah, I paid for the Zwift Play controllers to get this marginal gain, but these controllers have definitely been fun. I don't have to reach up to my computer anymore to use a power-up. I can give ride-on bombs like you saw before. You can navigate through the menu. I have an older version of the kicker, so I can't use the virtual shifting, which is fine with me. So for me, the controllers have definitely added to the Zwift experience. If you have thoughts you want to share, you can comment below. And who knows, maybe steering isn't as big of an advantage as I think it is. Alright, back to the racing. Looks like LM Evo is going for an attack. In fact, he was not going for an attack. He was probably just moving up in the pack just so he could sag this climb a little bit. But the pace of the pack picked up regardless, so I was making sure that I was moving up in the pack here. I end up throwing down 8 to 9 watts per kilo for a few seconds and move up pretty quickly. You see I pass LM Evo there, and I drift to the front and I see that there is no real threat up here, so I fall back in. But what it does is it actually sets me up to be in a good position to get a very good draft on this downhill that's coming up. and you can see that I fall back a little bit. So all I did was put myself in a position to respond to anything that happens in the front. I ease up on the power on the downhill, and if there is such a thing as sag descending, that's basically what I do. All right, we're coming up to the Ride On banner here. We are going to get a power up. The two available power ups are drafting boost and aero helmet again, just like the previous weeks of this series. Save this for the next lap, maybe. LM Evo pushing the pace. Let's talk a little bit more about the idea of anticipation when it comes to Zwift racing, because I feel like being able to see what's going on and even predict what's going to happen before it actually happens is one of the key factors to Zwift racing success. And honestly, this goes for pretty much any game or sport that's out there that I can think of. I grew up playing a lot of sports, and maybe relative to my peers, I may not have been the most physically gifted, but in general, I think I was able to perform beyond my physical capabilities, mainly because I was really good at anticipating what was going to happen. So whether it was basketball, tennis, soccer, and honestly even a game as simple as rock, paper, scissors or something like that, being able to understand patterns, being able to kind of get inside the mind of your competitors can definitely give you some sort of an edge. And I would probably say that this mental component of racing or any type of game or sport is really why we're drawn to it, because it allows us to be aware and present in that moment. And for the most part, especially when it comes to racing, your focus is singularly on that thing. Now, unfortunately, we are humans, so our physical capabilities at some point will not allow us to do what we really want to do mentally. And even if we are physically capable, sometimes we'll have mental lapses and we'll make mistakes in that sense. But we learn each time, we try to improve the next time, and that's where the never-ending learning and fun kind of comes in, right? I mean, there's probably a lot more that I could say that I haven't said regarding this topic, but anticipating what's going to happen, feeling the flow. If you're a hippie, feeling like you're one with the race or one with the pack, that's kind of the idea. So as far as this race goes, I've been sitting in the pack. I've been trying to conserve as much energy as possible, while also being ready to respond to anything crazy that happens. I've been keeping an eye on the two guys that I mentioned before, Bengtsson and LM Evo, and I don't think anyone tried to attack in the second lap. All right, final 2 kilometers, you guys know the drill. Normal speed, and we'll see how it all pans out. All right, so LM Evo is right behind me here, but watch this guy right here, L Van Dam, brother of Jean-Claude. Let's follow these guys. Hits 13 watts per kilo, goes straight through the group, and he's gonna go for a late flyer. It was definitely a really strong move. You'll see that he ends up getting a 4 to 5 second gap or so, and with that gap, it goes right down to the wire, and you'll see that near the finish line. Ultimately, with the advantage of hindsight here, it probably would have been better for him to go from maybe 2.5 kilometers out, because he might have been able to grow his gap a little bit more before this final kicker. And if you look at the profile map, the last 1.6 kilometers of this race is pretty flat, and you can tell it's even a little bit downhill on certain sections. But in general, on this type of course, I feel like a late flyer attack is going to be really, really hard to stick. And also, I just want to be very clear. Marking riders in a race is not a primary strategy, meaning even though I have a couple guys marked in the race, my priority is always to put myself in a good position regardless of what those guys are doing. For instance, right now I know that LM Evo is currently behind me, but when he comes back into the screen here, I'm cognizant of the fact that he's there, but I'm not just going to be following him around. So honestly, if you want to just keep it simple, care only about what you do and put yourself in a good position, and racing that way will give you much more consistency in your results. I feel like that's kind of obvious, but I just wanted to state that just in case. I use my aero helmet before we go through the banner, and I pick up a drafting boost here. I switch to first person view here, just so I can focus on what's in front of me. And looky, we got Bengtsson and LM Evo both in front of me. So what we talked about before, I put myself in a good position here. The added bonus is that the guys who I've marked in this race are in front of me here. So in terms of timing, I just have to watch what these guys are doing in front of me. I take the inside line with my steering a little bit. And it's go time.
Come on! Yeah! Go! Go! Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
Woo woo! Best result possible. Unfortunately, I didn't have my heart rate monitor paired, so my result doesn't show up on Zwift Power, but it looks like Zwift allows you to keep your ZRS bump. My new ZRS is 562 now. Yeah, that sprint felt really good, probably because I was pretty efficient with the entire race overall at 3.4 watts per kilo. Jean-Claude's brother, Mr. Van Dam, he averaged 4.4 watts per kilo, so he's a monster. And he probably put in a huge effort at the end. Yeah, so anyone who's doing this race later in the week, I hope it gives you a good preview. Let me know how your race goes. I'd appreciate it if you like the video and subscribe to my channel. Either way, I'll catch you guys later. See ya. It's pretty exciting. Oh, I threw up a little in my mouth. Sorry. Beep boop.